The Rainbow's End research is really a continuation of research that we had already completed around retirement. And we were really curious about the great generational wealth transfer, this $3.5 trillion transfer that's happening over the next decade and beyond. There's been a lot in the media, there's a lot of discussions, and there was an initial belief that that transfer would stay within the wealth system. So we got really curious on both sides, those from that were likely to pass on the legacy, but also from those looking to receive that legacy in time. And the reason for that curiosity was really cost of living pressures currently, interest rates rising. Australian property is a conversation in most households, so we wanted to understand some of the implications, intricacies of that wealth transfer.
Advisors are skilled at asking the right questions. Advisors are also, clearly in a great position of understanding what the fears are and the aspirations of all family members if they're involved with them. And we talk to clients about things that other people wouldn't necessarily ask about. Are we worried about this particular family member being a spender? Are we concerned that there's going to be a relationship breakdown in future? Can we plan ahead for that?
There's a reluctance from some inheritors to want to be involved or be involved in the conversation. And I guess, our role is probably to sort of, open the lines of communication so that there's no surprises.
There's always complexities when transferring the wealth between the baby boomers and the next generation. A lot of the complexities comes around blended families, and where there could be other kids involved, step-kids as well involved in that situation. But also find with the complexities, very common these days, grey divorce, which is a term we use for people getting later on in life when they get divorced. So we find that's also a big challenge to understand what the client's needs are.
The obvious ones are family relations. There can be strained relations. There can be people with different expectations. There's a lot of fear sometimes that the receiving parties may not handle that money in the way that it's expected to be handled. There's lack of education, financial literacy. I think that's something that is a major concern for people.
Inheritors getting impatient, I think, is the biggest challenge that we're seeing. The younger generations wanting their piece of pie now rather than waiting till later. A lot of the senior Australians with intergenerational wealth, they want to give that away earlier as well in some instances because they want to see their kids and their grandkids enjoy it.
Predominantly what we see nowadays is people needing or wanting to help their family member perhaps repay debt or provide for education purposes.
Inheritance comes in many forms. Sometimes it can be through a financial gift to kids to help them buy the first property.
We're increasingly seeing particularly grandparents pay for school fees for their grandkids. We see a lot of people take away the whole family on holidays that perhaps their kids and their grandkids wouldn't be able to afford themselves.
One of the complexities with any future planning is that we don't quite know how long people are going to live for. So you might feel like you've got enough wealth to last your lifetime, but if you're going to live to 110, perhaps you don't. And then there's other complexities for the person receiving that gift. So in the event that that was just gifted to them, but then there's a separation in their world, is that money meant to be paid back?
There's always complexities which we need to consider as financial advisors. The most common being, of course, tax implications, and for some clients, Centrelink implications as well.
There's been instances where people have gifted large amounts of money thinking it's not going to have an impact on their Centrelink entitlements. I'm talking specifically about the age pension. They think that if they gift large amounts of money, they'll be able to get a higher age pension or be eligible for an age pension, and it's not the case. Thinking about wealth transfers, it's probably better to start earlier than later. People tend to put it in the too hard basket, but then it becomes this sort of thing that just keeps growing and growing in the background that people tend to then forget about.
Money can be a game changer, but statistics show us that, lotto winners are back where they started several years later. It's very, very common. Inheritance is going to have the same implication if we don't plan ahead and start to ask the right questions.